It's the Cardiff City phone in once again, and again, thank you to the panel for coming on. I've done it again by getting too many Steves, but there we go. Steve Thomas is with us, and Steve Wiggy Wiggins, and David Collins. So there's kind of plenty to discuss. I want to just go to the panel first on the breaking news this afternoon, not long before the show went live, actually, about the news about the case being dismissed for in Nantes, of all places. For £100 million, a hell of a lot of money for the club. Plenty of different kind of points of view on that. Steve Thomas, I know we talked about it just briefly before you came on. What's your general thoughts on it?
My general thought on it is obviously it's not good news. Not good news for the club. Not good news for Vincent Tan. What I read this afternoon that we have to pay 400,000, I think, to Nantes, and that's regardless of whether there's an appeal. Whether there is an appeal or not is yet to be seen. But having seen the way it's been pushed by the club and Mr. Tan, my opinion might be there will be likely to be an appeal. But you have to ask when there is going to be. I think two questions come out of this. You have to ask when this is all going to end, and number two, what about the Salah family and all this? When are they ever going to be able to get some peace? I mean, a young man lost his life. Goodness me, 7 years ago now, and it's still going on. So we hope that his family will find some sort of peace and some sort of reconciliation eventually. And we also don't know who was actually responsible, because they now seem to be saying that Cardiff City clearly have never been responsible. Nantes are now not responsible. So who is? We all probably got some good ideas about who that might be, but I better not say anything more on that.
No, and particularly as is, you're absolutely right. It is inevitable. I would have thought there would be an appeal. Wiggy, Dave Jones, as I say, not the Scouse humorist Dave Jones, but the Cardiff City fan Dave Jones, was due to come on tonight, and he made a comment on his social media, which I thought pretty well ties in with what Steve said about, it's been going on for 7 years, and no matter how much money is flying around, it's not the value of this tragic loss of this young man and his losing his life.
No, I was going to say it's the end of a long saga, but as you've both just alluded to there, it's not, is it? Because there's obviously...
It's unlikely, I think.
It's like a never-ending piece of string. And as you said, it's so unfair on the Salah family. And I think, okay, it's a lot of money, but all that should have gone out of the window when a young man loses his life, and I think we should have been shown a lot more respect than we have. And I was going to say perhaps that'll push Mr. Tan into leaving. But if you look at it from the club's perspective, then I suppose that's going to rule out, if we do go up, a major investment in the Championship, is it? If Mr. Tan decides to stay.
Yeah, it is kind of an interesting one because from the football club's point of view, you can kind of see it in the pragmatic sense, about like the impact on the club, and it's such a messy kind of situation. But Jeff makes the point that I was going to make to you, Wiggy, that Salah's mum, bless her, was in Nantes today in the court, and she's apparently just distraught at the decision. So it's kind of it's just spinning round and round and round, really. Can you see it at all from a kind of it's difficult, somebody's life is involved here, but do you see it sort of more kind of in a business kind of way, from the perspective of the club and the argument of the impact on the club, and because it's like you say, Wiggy, it's massive, isn't it, for Vincent Tan, if that is the final decision.
But it's also shed us in a really poor light, hasn't it, Steve, as a football club? That I think that for me is the overriding aspect of it all, because yes, it's a lot of money involved, but when a chap loses his life, and he was going to be a Cardiff City player, unfortunately things were done wrongly from whatever side, but I think we should have I don't think we should have gone down this road at all. But Mr. Tan is Mr. Tan, as we all know. So, but how long is it going to be? I mean, their family just want closure, don't they? Which is understandable. I can't believe it's that amount of time. Time flies, doesn't it? It's
a
been
long time.
7 years. You said. I would never have said that, but it's an incredibly long time to not have any closure on your son's passing, isn't it? you know.
Yeah, and David, you remember, at the time of the death, when the family came over to, just to visit the kind of tributes to him, and which were beautiful, by the way, David. And even then, the press kind of, sort of intruding and on their private grief. What's your perspective on it, David? Obviously, it's fresh to you as it is to the rest of us. Can you kind of see it from a rounded kind of point of view?
Well, I'm not, close to the argument and close to the figures, but my sort of overall reaction to the ruling today was that it was a pretty comprehensive defeat. If that was a boxing match, all three judges would have awarded against the city, and they have to give £400,000 damages. So any appeal, I don't know what grounds they would appeal on, some legal technicality. I doubt it, because it's such a crushing defeat that I can't see where the club would go to it, next. But I think I've read some suggestions that somewhere in the club's, accounts or budgeting, there are some finances predicated on the fact that we would win this case. And if that doesn't happen, presumably there must be a gap in the club's accounts. Now, whether that impacts, as you just said, Steve, on our potential to invest in the club next year, whether that affects Tan's position. Gareth Bale's name has come back into the
I hadn't seen that.
Back into the discussion as as a potential investor, because it's not as if the club has lost 100 million.
No,
but the club, but it's 100 million the club won't get. It's a bit like opportunity cost. If a plumber goes to do a job and the job's cancelled, he doesn't lose the money, but he doesn't get the money. So that's it's such a comprehensive victory that I really, part of me hopes the club don't appeal and just move on, because as somebody was just saying, one of the Steves, 7 years ago, it kind of feels like ancient history, doesn't it? And we're going to be talking later on about Gillian Nolan and Capaccio, Joel Colwell. These lads were in high school at the time. I hope the club just put it to one side now, but I don't know the accounting intricacies, as I say.
No. It's a really difficult one to look at, and it is ongoing. But sadly, it's ongoing. But it's a massive amount of money. I suppose there's a slightly interesting point there, David, as well. Obviously, this took place in it's a commercial court actually in Nantes, itself. So, we'll just leave that one lie, I suppose. Have you got the official statement by any chance? You said you'd seen the statement from the club. You don't have it to hand there, do you? Or more or less in your head?
I don't have it in front of me, sorry, but I did have regard to it, and the club were, very disappointed in the outcome. They still think Nantes are liable, and all the sort of the underwritten tones suggest that they're going to appeal. But as I said, it was such a massive, comprehensive judgment against the club. I don't know what ground. Limited legal experience tells me that appeal is not just we disagree. It needs to be things like, and there is new evidence, or and you failed to take this into account, or we were wronged somehow, not just he said, she said. So I really don't know. It's all. The ink's not even dry on these statements yet, Steve. So we'll have to wait and see. And I think as well, it might also depend on the next couple of games, because if they're potentially virtually in the championship by the time we hammer Bolton at home, then the world might look the world might look slightly different than it did when we were losing at home to Wickham. So maybe that's a factor, and a little bit of water will pass under the bridge. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess.
Comments from Graham, obviously it shows that there are conflicting opinions on whether this whole thing should have happened anyway. And a point he made earlier was a really good one, just to say that one point, really, if the club had won, where would you expect a football club like Nantes to get 100 million from? It's just it's a bit of an odd one. However, and I want to get away from it really. Obviously, love and best wishes to Emmy and his family, from everyone associated with the show and the club. I'm sure it goes without saying, really. But we can turn to international football, because we have kind of like a little kind of tangent here, because Mark Cox mentions about Lawler. Best we enjoy Lawler till the end of the season, because it might be a case of selling some assets. So I'll come at that slightly differently, David, because we can talk a little bit about Wales. And I know you're a massive fan, and I believe I can quote David Collins, 2026, Dylan Lawler is the best footballer in the world. Is that about right, Dave?
Yeah, I stand firmly by that view, Steve. Yeah. I was watching him against Bosnia-Herzegovina, and even though I was in the press box as an impartial media commentator, I am prepared to accept that let's go to Partizan. He's just wonderful. He's direct. He's an athlete. I mean, he didn't have an awful lot to do in the game, but there was one moment late in the proceedings where he got into a little bit of a knot, and he performed what I can only describe it as a pirouette, and just moved past about 3 Bosnians, as if you were, I don't know, playing with the kids on the beach. I was speaking to Rob Phillips earlier on, before the game, the former BBC Wales correspondent, and Rob's a person I'm prepared to, whose opinion I'm prepared to respect. And I said, how good is he? And he said that he really, really is that good. It's not just me as a fan. Rob Phillips has watched many games for many years. And I said he reminds me of that other guy over there. There was a chap called Gabidon. And he's got that poise and that elegance. And I think Lawler is just... He needs to fill out. He needs to get a bit of... some good coaching, because he occasionally gives the ball away, but I really do think he's so good. In terms of his future, everyone's saying, he'll go to Man United or Chelsea. Well, is he going to go to Chelsea and sit on the bench, or Man City and not get a game? Or is he going to go to, I don't know, insert your name of mid-ranking championship club, I don't know, Bristol City or QPR. Well, I don't see the point.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Well, I don't see the point of going to. I don't see the point of going to. Would he go to, let's say, Wolves or Burnley?
Or would he go to one of the clubs going up from the Championship? Maybe more like like an Ipswich or something like that.
Maybe he might go to like a Palace or a Brighton or a Fulham.
Yeah.
I think he'll still be with us at Christmas, because I think people are still waiting to see, he's doing really well in the chat. Someone like Kean Ashford is doing really well, and Ollie Tanner doing really well in League One. But when they're playing next season against, your Derby, maybe not Leicester, but, Birmingham, Wolves, West Ham, big top.
West Ham,
big team. Then they'll see how Millwall. Then we'll see how good they are. So maybe people are keeping their powder dry, but he's so young that the likes of Bayern Munich, for example, might take a punt.
That's a good call, actually.
Enjoy him while you can. I will say that.
We'll continue. Yeah, exactly. Because we know we've had our fingers burnt in the past, Steve Thomas, haven't we? With young players. Aaron Ramsey springs to mind. Young players who've looked really, really good, and they're gone. Click of a fingers, bit of money comes in, and away they go. what's your thoughts on Dylan? How does he kind of stack up for you in terms of his quality?
Well, I think first of all, just talking generally about our younger players, we have in the generality of cases now got them on reasonably long contracts. So we should hopefully get fees if clubs do come in for them. However, I think, just pick up what David said, I think Dylan is going to be a fantastic player, but I think he's still got a lot to learn. Bear in mind, he only played the one game last season, wasn't it? So he played the one game last season at Villa in the Cup. So this is his first proper season in League One. Might teams want to have a look at him in the Championship first? I'm not certain that there's going to be a mass exodus of players, despite what's happened today. I'm hoping that Dylan will still be our player next season and will come on further. But I think what's more likely to happen is that there's very little point, unless we have a complete fire sale, in getting rid of our crown jewels, our prized assets, however we want to describe them, at knockdown prices. I don't think we're hopefully in that position yet. I'd like to think that Dylan will still be with us next season, and he'll come on even further if we hopefully we can get in the Championship.
Yeah, and again, without going back to what we were talking about, there has been something which has happened today, Steve, Wiggy. The implications of the decision which has taken place today would obviously massively change, the financial picture of the club. But when in League One, I suppose we sort of held on to the youngsters, used the league to develop them, and then on the thinking, Steve, that as we go forward, as we go up the leagues, their value is going to go up. So it's a case of, do you think, holding firm with that and just giving him a good run in the Championship, because his value can only go up, can't it?
Well, do you think so, Steve? Personally, I think a big club will come in the summer. He is that good, and I know he's been playing in League One, but you can see, the stature and the way he is, the way he presents himself. And don't forget, he was up against some big lumps, those Bosnian forwards, that Dzeko and there, they're decent players. I know he's knocking on a bit now, but seasoned, really good pros.
Football of his time, I think.
Yeah. I think I'm praying that an Arsenal will come in, but they'll see that he needs to be loaned back for a season
to Cardiff City. Yeah.
That's that's my wish, that he goes to I think a big club will come in, but I'm just hoping that, as you said, he doesn't want to be sat on the bench there, where if he is at a big club. No. So they that they'll loan him back for a season and give us the benefit of a year should we go up, But
of course, he was a new contract, didn't he? If that, for what that means, value wise, it's good, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm whether that holds anything, if a club comes in, who knows? But I've got a feeling, we'll get a bid there somewhere. If it's not from a big club, then if, as Dave said, if a Palace or someone like that come in, personally, if I was Dylan, I'd hold out. I wouldn't go to a. I can see him playing for Arsenal or someone like that. I can, okay. He's that good. Somewhere down the line, obviously. How old is he, Steve? 19.
Is he 19 yet, Dave?
I think he's about. I think he's about 19.
Just about. Young 19. If he is 19, yeah.
I've got my all I've got is a team sheet from this week.
Yeah.
I'm going to get him to sign it one day.
Yeah. So we're talking about the youngsters, like Steve said, and of course, then the Colwills come into it. So Richard Lewis made the point. Firstly, when you saw Ruben finally getting the nod, David Collins, to come into the Wales squad, and then you see him there, scratching his proverbials on the bench. But I think we think maybe already had a bit of a knock or suspect fitness injury in training, maybe.
I think he felt his groin, Gaffer, at some point, and or a hamstring or something. And I don't know whether that was a factor in not putting him on. But if we'd have brought him on against Bosnia, I'm not sure what difference it would have made, because we already had about 5 or 6 players in that role. The likes of Johnson, Wilson, and we'd have brought him on. We already had that floating. We sort of played a 5-5-0 formation. It was really, really strange. And I was sat next to the guy from Sky Sports in the press box. In fact, it was the guy that asked Craig Bellamy about Mo Salah, and Craig Bellamy sort of shut him up quite quickly. Anyway, and when they brought Mark Harris on, I said to him, I'm not sure what the question is for the answer to be Mark Harris. I mean, he didn't do badly. You know, he runs about, he holds the ball, but why Broadhead didn't come on, I don't know. So anyway, to go back to your question, I wasn't surprised to see Ruben Colwell not included. I wouldn't have minded seeing Joel Colwell because he's got energy.
Well,
he pushes through the gaps.
Well, there's a comment from Mark there, David. If you can see it on the screen, I don't know whether you can. He struck me as, yeah, because he's saying he's a player who can play at the highest level. He's got so much potential, Joel. But I was surprised a bit when you see, Cullen and then Harris coming on, and Joel. I know it was a big game. I think Joel would have jumped at it.
Liam Cullen is. I'm never going to like Liam Cullen, am I? But he's done quite well in a few games. He's done quite well in a few games for Wales, and he's scored a couple of good goals for the Jacks lately. But he just brought nothing to the proceeding. I would have brought Broadhead on for the last 10 minutes and taken Cullen on. Talking about Cardiff City players, if I had to bet on a youngster to leave the club, I think I might go Ashford, because he's got his admirers. He won't cost a fortune. He's got pace, and he can play on the left as well, which is quite an asset. I'd keep an eye on Ashford. He played for the under-21s at Newport the other day.
They won, didn't they?
They won 2-0, yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. Is there scope to bring him into the squad for tomorrow? I don't know how the rules work. I think Sheffield United were looking at him once,
Yeah. Well, he's had a good season. Steve Thomas, hasn't he? Kean, he's come on. He's probably been one of our better players actually over the last few weeks. And what David says there about pace is really important. Whatever division you're in, you somebody who thinks that Joel's got a massive future, Steve?
I think a lot of our young players have got a massive future, but I think next season is going to be very, very telling for them. Just to go back to Dylan. Dylan is 20 years old, like a racehorse. His birthday is the 1st of January. So 1st of January.
Good line.
He is actually 20 years old. But I think a lot of them, the teams further up, 2 points to make. First of all, the teams further up may not be as interested as we think. I take your point, Wiggy, about people coming in, but these players have had a really good season in League One. They need. I think that they want to look at them at a higher level.
Yeah, maybe.
Also, I think the players, if they do go, they've got to be very, very careful where they do go. I remember Brennan Johnson, for example. Brennan Johnson at Forest was an excellent player. Really lost his way at Spurs, and now he's at Palace. Hopefully, from a Wales point of view, he comes on. But the moves that he's made have not really worked out. So I think they've got to be really, really careful. Even going back, you mentioned Aaron Ramsey going to Arsenal. Yes, he had a good career at Arsenal. But also you can go back to Nathan Blake, who, of course, we sold. Nathan Blake was a great hope at the time, wasn't he? And he went to Sheffield United, as I remember it. We were supposed to get some more money if Sheffield United stayed up, but they didn't stay up. So that didn't happen. So we've got a history going back 20, 30 years of not getting the best when we do sell our players, both for the club and for the players concerned. So I think we've got to be careful for both. Ashford has had an excellent season. I think again, BBM's got to take a lot of credit for bringing the players on this season.
Yeah, I don't know, Steve Wiggy. I haven't noticed much, in the way of kind of firm interest in our younger players. Maybe there's been rumours, but nothing firm. So, yeah, I'd like to think that the club have said, "Oh no, they're our future, and we're going to build with them." But I suppose there will come a time, won't there, when that might change, maybe fairly rapidly. Actually, I don't know. Maybe on the championship.
Yeah, everyone's a selling club. At the end of the day, Steve. If if someone comes in with a sizable offer, and we notoriously, even going back to the, I can remember when Toshak was sold. I mean, he was our best player. We sold him, and we didn't go up.
We had 26 minutes for the Toshak reference. I just missed out on that.
Yeah, but we've always sold, haven't we? So and
Yeah.
if Mr. Tan's in charge, with as we mentioned at the top of the show, then I'd imagine that he'd be looking to recoup some of his money. But who knows? I mean, I wish we had a crystal ball that we could look into the future and see what Tan's intentions are, because we're still in the dark really with what he wants to do. I mean, he's no spring chicken now. His family want him out of the business, don't they? So is now, if we do go up, the time for him to sell, and someone like the Bale Consortium come in so we can invest, because we're going to need serious investment next year, aren't we, gents? Let's be honest, we are.
Steve, I've got to say, I'm really glad you mentioned John Toshak, actually, because on last week's show we were talking about him because it was his birthday, and at that time I had absolutely no idea about his health condition. So again, whatever he's done, as far as I'm concerned, he's a Cardiff boy, and he's a Wales legend, and terrible what he's going through.
He actually poured cold water on the on Cameron Toshak's comments about him having dementia, because he says, I might forget all the goals I missed, but I don't forget all the ones I scored. So he's obviously still got up to a point, his wits about him, but it's hard not to like John Toshak.
Yeah, but a lot of people can't stand it. I know he's not well, but a lot of people really can't stand the guy. And we talked about him on the show last week, and he's one of those Marmite characters, but a huge figure, literally, and also in Welsh football, David. Yes, have great credit for that, I think.
Yeah. I mean, when he was at Liverpool with Keegan, that Toshak Keegan partnership, it sort of set the definition for the big guy, little guy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I need to put my. I'm on 10%, so give me a second.
Spiritually or some other way?
Plug yourself in, Dave. No, he was. You mentioned Toshak.
Yeah,
he was my idol growing up. I mean, that's when I first started going down the city, late 60s.
Yeah, same.
An absolute idol, and the goals he used to score for the city. I think the game before he left, it was Hull City, I think, and he scored a hat trick. And you mentioned partnerships. Well, Toshak and Clark up front for the City were pure dynamite.
Absolutely, yeah,
they really were. So I can see why a lot of people.
He's recharged now.
All right, we're okay now. Okay, go on, Dave.
I'm there now. I do remember those names. And I've seen Toshak and Clark play for the City, but unfortunately, my real Cardiff City watching era began just after it. With the likes of Dave Powell and Derek Showers and like that, in those never-ending relegation battle in '70s.
Yeah.
But anyway, we moved off the point a little bit, haven't we?
No, it's we all came into this love with this club at different stages. I think we all know who this person is. I'm going to come back to Steve in a second, because I want to talk about something which is again happening, because we're big in America now, thanks to you, Steve. John Toshak, Wales KTF. What could that possibly stand for? John Toshak, Canton, Cardiff and Wales hero, broke my heart as an 11-year-old. When he went to Liverpool, the club went down in ever decreasing circles after that for the next 30 years. Of course, we signed War Boys, but it was a bit of a strange time. But Steve, it's nice that John Lang is. Tell us a bit more about John Lang. He's watching us from America. Is that right?
Yeah. Hello, John. Yeah, I met John on holiday actually in the States in 2023. Met him on music quizzes. Started talking about football, and I've told John, you're welcome at Cardiff City Stadium anytime. Come over, you're my guest.
I didn't know you were into music, by the way, Steve. Are you worth having on a pub team at all?
It's been known, yeah. Yeah, but I think I've got to step back, because there's people who know far more music knowledge than me on this show, Steve.
Well, I'd say one of them must be Wiggy, because Wiggy is a master of music, as far as I know.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I can play the recorder.
Steve Johnson and I often share album tracks we've been enjoying, or vinyl.
Yeah,
we've
music.
found
Music comments fly around. Can we talk about the kit? This have we heard much about this, David? About this new kit, this Castor kit?
No, I have to admit that has passed me by. We've had this Adidas kit for years, and now we've got what are we wearing now? I think this is the this is the New Balance, last year's sort of grey ensemble. I must admit, I hadn't quite noticed the change, even though I'm wearing it. I don't know much about the new arrangement. One thing I am puzzled by about the club, and this is with Wales as well. Every Cardiff City fan loves the shirt that Steve Thomas is wearing. I've got one.
Absolutely, 1000%.
Everybody loves it, and all the bucket wearing hordes for Wales, they all wear the red, yellow, and green bucket hats. But Cardiff City and the FAW never go back to that, and I really don't understand it. And don't get me started on away kits. I mean, our current away kit is sort of peppermint green. This is grey with purple and orange and all the rest of it. I mean, kits in Cardiff City is not a great place to argue, because Vincent Tan, when he finally ditched the red, he says, let's move forward now. Let's have new away kits.
Back in red.
He doesn't want to go back to the blue, white, and yellow because he sees that as a retro step. But surely you'd think there'd be some sort of they missed a trick for me in their centenary season last year or the year last. The badge was great, but Steve's kit is wonderful. So I don't know whether we'll see some sort of return to or even a yellow away kit or something, because.
Can I come in at that point as well? This kit that I've got on was unique. You saw this kit, you knew it was Cardiff City. We were the only team that was wearing this kit. The home kit was this. The away kit was the reverse with yellow with the blue and white stripe down the side. Yeah. So you knew it was Cardiff City. And also, talking about good luck and bad luck, we were never relegated in this shirt. We wore this from 1975 when we started off in the old third division, and then we got promoted. And we stayed until we got rid of this shirt in 1980. When we went back to the plain blue again. But again, I've said it on this show before. You look at that when we, as you said, David, when we wore the Adidas kit, the blue Adidas kit, we played Leicester. I remember going to Leicester and thinking that's exactly the same kit as ours. All you got is the Cardiff badge on our shirt and the Leicester badge on their shirt. It was completely homogenous, completely taken over by the kit manufacturers. If somebody from Castor or whatever they're called are listening, have a look at this shirt. The fans want it. Give us what we want.
Yeah, I'm sure that clip will be viral by tomorrow, Steve.
It's an important part of a club's identity. It breaks my heart when you see, I don't know, and the worst offenders are Leeds United. Leeds United will turn out against, I don't know, at Stoke, let's say, and they're playing black or pink, and almost every Premier League game you see, the away team wears their away kit. It's not an away kit, it's a change kit. And especially these clubs like Newcastle, Wolves, who have these iconic, colours and kits, to ditch those because they're playing away at, I don't know, Brentford or something. It really sounds weird. I understand the discussion about colour blindness, and I don't know if any of you ever watched the City's game against Plymouth.
Yeah,
it was really. I watched it on TV in a local wine bar. It was really difficult to see the difference between the two kits.
Nothing to do with the wine at all, was it?
Pardon?
Nothing to do with the wine.
That might have been a factor, Steve, especially after 7 goals. But I think kits are an important part of a club's identity, as we saw with the whole.
Absolutely. Well, that was the epitome of it, wasn't it? Really, that. But Jeff Dela Cruz makes a good comment here. David, if you want to respond to this, saying about the 100th anniversary of the 1927 FA Cup, win. coming up.
Yes. A friend of mine is a Mason, and he's a very, very big Cardiff City fan, and he's, grand poobah of his lodge or whatever they call it next year.
I don't think it's poobah, but I'm not quite sure.
Pardon?
I'm not sure it's poobah, but it's
Grandmaster, I think they call it.
That's the one.
But you've got
Grandmaster Flash.
You've got to use the 1927 reference, and yes,
Yeah,
you will.
yeah.
But interestingly, they clubs didn't really wear the badges in those days, but the club wore the badge of the coat of arms on their shirt that day. The city's coat, the city of Cardiff's coat of arms. Gosh, it's amazing to think that only one club has only one Welsh club has won the FA Cup since 1872. I was pleased when Wrexham were knocked out because I want that record to stay our record.
Yeah. I'm a bit like that. It's kind of bitter and twisted, really, isn't it? But it's funny though, isn't it? Isn't it funny how we get so wound up about kits, though, isn't it? Why do we get so wound up, like the badge and the colours and the crest? It's always controversial, isn't it?
It's because sometimes, Steve, that's all you've got. You can moan about why they Toshak or Nathan Blake or Gordon Owen or Simon Howarth or 1,000 others, and you can moan about managers and games you've lost. But the club and the kit and the badge is the only constant, really. I mean, when I look at the Bluebird logo, that logo has been part of my life for 50, 60 years. To some people that might sound sad, but to people on the screen, you can relate to that. So it is important, and on a dull Monday night, it is important.
Yeah. Steve Thomas, I mean, obviously, I think speaking for most people, certainly of a certain age, that's my all-time favorite City kit, full stop. It's iconic. It's an iconic kit.
I think it's everywhere.
Yeah, well, it's just a beautiful design. It's. Do you think, Steve? I'm not directing this so personally. It might seem that way at Vincent Tan, but sometimes you get owners of clubs who are a little bit kind of culturally bereft of kind of local knowledge, and they don't quite get the stuff that David was just talking about, Steve, with this kind of iconography and the association. It does mean something to the fans, and you'd like to think that somebody somewhere would say, well, blimey, let's get that kit back. We're going to sell thousands of them.
It does, but I don't think, not that I'm standing up for Mr. Tan in any way here, but I don't think you can actually blame him for this, because you've got a whole series of owners before him who've not gone with the appropriate shirt. And I think obviously keeping calm and trying to obviously not blowing a gasket over this, but as David alluded earlier, it's because we feel an identity with this. If we all feel an identity with Cardiff City, we all support Cardiff City for particular reasons, but we're all passionate Cardiff City fans, and we think this kit. I remember I wore this kit when I grew up 60 miles south of London. I had this kit as a 12-year-old. I'd lumps kicked out of me in games lessons wearing my Cardiff City shirt, playing football in East Sussex when I was growing up, amongst people who supported Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United, whoever, everybody apart from Brighton and Hove Albion at the time, who was the local team, but leave that to one side. I've always had this affinity and association with Cardiff City because it's where I'm from, and I think this is part of the identity. If we wear a kit that's unique to us, it would go down really well, and I think they would absolutely fly off the shelves if they put this.
Well, it's a little bit of a handbrake turn. Sorry, Dave. I just remember something I wanted to mention tonight. Of course, that was the terrible death of the Birmingham fan, who were missing and was discovered. That was a terrible story, and it transcends everything we're talking about. But Wiggy, I mentioned that because Steve's very neutral kind of guy. He holds it together well, but even I can tell there's some emotion there when he's talking about his identity as a football fan, and things happen. The ME Salah tragedy is another one. Things happen which transcend football, but there's something special, I think, about sometimes to do with the kind of the community spirit of the football family. It might sound a bit corny, but I think that there actually is something in there. Would you hold with that at all, Steve?
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Steve. Yeah, it's a community thing, a football club, isn't it? It's a big part of a community as well. You know, the further, obviously, the further up the leagues you go, but even in the lower leagues, I mean, you know, a football club is the hub of a city or a town, isn't it? You know, and I think you know, some of the tributes that you see these days. I saw the Birmingham one, but there was one at Leeds as well. You know, and fans clapping on certain minutes and things like that. I think it's fantastic, and it's great to see opposition fans joining in with that as well. And I've noticed that at several grounds. You know, so that'll answer your question there in one full swoop, Steve.
David, as you know, as a kind of from a journalistic perspective, I know, you know, I was terrible at being neutral. You know, I'm the world's worst. You know, but I'm not particularly neutral. I was told off for it a couple of times. So you're kind of effectively objective, but you also probably more as much as anyone else connected. You have that passion running through your bloodstream too, don't you?
Well, I'll bump into a mate of mine in a pub or something, and he says to me, "Did you go?" And I instantly know where he means, where did I go, and what he's talking about. And I said, "Oh yeah, it was rubbish," or "Yeah, it was great." You know, there's no, because the preamble is told in the last 50 years. He just says, "Did you go?" You know.
Yeah.
And the guys I sit with now, I've had a season ticket in the same seat for about, I don't know, let's call it 10 years for the sake of argument. One or two people I actually know as friends, people like Tim Hartley, who's been on this show. But others, I've just kind of got to know him, you know. And this one guy I saw in the pub once, and he came in, he said, "Oh, Bluebirds." And I said, "No, I didn't think much of it." He said, I said, "I'm sorry, I don't recognize you." He said, "I sit by you every other week." And it was the guy who sits next to me. But without his baseball cap and the contacts with his wife. It's one of the guys just now used the word family, you know. And I turned to a girl who sits behind me the other week, and I said, "Oh, hello, Jess, so-and-so, you know." And it is a family. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it feels like a chore. It really does. Especially over the last, 5 years. And even over the last 5 games, it's been hard work. But have you seen that banner? You know, the guys like Billy Badger's sells, and it says something like, "Still with the same bird after 125 years." You know.
Yeah.
It's constant, and you if people aren't in that circuit, you really can't explain it. You know, the guy that goes up the pub on a Sunday afternoon in his Liverpool shirts. It's not the same, you know.
Billy No Mates.
Yeah, you know, and they've got "You'll Never Walk Alone" tattoo and all the rest of it. It really is. It is not. It's not the same.
I'm gonna go one that says "I'll never care." I fancy having that tattoo on there, but no, I'm not going to do that. Steve Thomas says a serious comment coming from Rich Lewis. Again, talking about the thing that we're all talking about really is the kind of spirit that runs through football. You know, the latest update, which was really sad, about Jason Bowen and his condition, and his fight with that terrible condition. He was a lovely player, wasn't he, Steve? Jason was a great good footballer, you know.
It's as we said before, you know, we talk about the kit, we talk about the club, how much it means to us. There are some things that transcend football, as we said about Emiliano at the start of the show as well. And what's happened to Jason, a fantastic servant for us. So, as you mentioned him there, I've got a few of the goals he scored going through my mind. I remember him scoring the winner when we won 1-0 at Reading away. I think our first game at the new Reading Stadium. I remember there was one game when we'd have been in the old third division where he sold this amazing dummy on the edge of the box of the Grange end, and it was worth going that night just because you could see the fella sitting next to me said "dummy" because the ball came to him and he went one way, the ball went the other, and went round the player. Absolutely brilliant. Again, he was one player who went to win a lot of fans over, I think, because he was a former Swansea player.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? That's the other thing, Steve, with that as well. Going back to that, the thing we were alluding to, our passion for our club, but also, to various extents, passion for other human beings, and things that happen which are much bigger than football. But for us, in our family, to paraphrase David, when somebody's been signed from Jackland and he comes to play for Cardiff, that's a difficult family transition. You got a family wedding scenario going to kick off at any second now, haven't you? Really?
Absolutely. But if you look there are some notable names. We got Jason Bowen, of course, came over, Andy Legg, and to a certain extent, Alan Curtis. Alan Curtis, Swansea through and through. Yet that goal,
Robbie James.
He scored in the Welsh Cup final at the Vetch when we beat Wrexham 2-0 in 1988, was it? Absolutely fantastic. And I remember he said afterwards, I saved my best goals for the Vetch, but he was playing for Cardiff City. He just in that team, I think it was described, I think in the Cardiff City chronology, or one of the books back at the time, he was an oasis in the deserts of the 4th division, and he was a former Jack playing for us who won a lot of us over.
Yeah,
I saw,
and of course, sorry, go on, Dave.
Play for I think it was a combination game. It was Cardiff reserves against Swansea reserves at the old Ninian Park, and this whippet was on the wing, Jason Bowen, and I really remember he really caught my eye at that time. So I kind of followed his career all the way through, and I was very pleased when he signed for us. But there's sort of brushstrokes of Ramsey, because you watch Jason Bowen and Ramsey, and they're a metre or two ahead of the rest of the players in their minds.
Yes,
this is why Dalglish couldn't play for Burton Albion, because they're too good. They're too good, and some of the things Bowen was doing, didn't come off because and Ramsey. Because the other players weren't up to it. This is why Bowen always linked up very well with Andy Legg, because he was a good, clever, mature player.
Yeah.
I used to love watching Kenny Miller. He was such an artist in his craft. It's strange how the divisions separate players of different abilities, isn't it?
I've got a great question for the panel, right? Just going to go around this really quickly. I think I know mine. No, I think I know mine. Who's your favourite former Jack who signed for Cardiff City? I'll start with you, David. Is Jason Bowen up there?
Let me just go through all those. Curtis.
Yep.
Okay, we'll go with that. Steve, you got one in mind? Steve Thomas?
I would go for Andy Legg, and I would say also I've seen Andy Legg, Andy Legg in Nottingham before, and I did that to him, and straight away he did it back to me.
Yeah, he's Cardiff now, isn't he? He's made the transition.
Yeah, but I would say that that's not anything for Alan Curtis, or I put Leggy up there with Alan Curtis and Jason Bowen as well, players who won us over for their ability and their commitment to Cardiff City.
What about you, Wiggy?
Yeah, I'd go with Leggy as well, Stephen. Wouldn't it be great to have him in our side with that long throw now, which has come back in. All the teams, they're getting goals off long throws, and we just haven't got anyone to chuck the ball that far. He was great. I thought he was a real good servant for City, Leggy. Really good.
I wonder, Steve, if you asked that question to a Swansea City phone in. Who is your favourite ex-Cardiff City player? I wonder who they'd say. Toshak, Giles, Gilligan?
Gilligan's got to be up there, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, thinking about Jimmy. Gilligan?
I guess they'd all say Tosh, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Listen, we got to talk about, we actually got a game coming up, which is been a while. It's been a while, yeah. We've got a while. We got Peterborough away on the 6th. Peterborough, of course, Steve Thomas. I think they were our first home game this season, if I remember. And we were shocked because Turner played in goal. I think that was the one Wintle scored that amazing goal as well. And then at that time, then they sort of went free fall for a while, and now they've crept up to mid-table. Their manager is talking about former Jacks, Luke Williams. Is their manager, but so he'd love to put one over on us. Do you think this break is going to and I'm asking you to predict the future a bit, crystal ball, Steve. But at the time, I'll put it this way: when we had the international break, I thought it was a godsend for us. I thought we really needed it. I hope it's done the trick to turn the corner. Any thoughts on that, Steve?
Yes, I'm always positive. I'm very much half full glass, as you know, Steve. However,
Yep.
I am concerned that I was there the last time we beat Peterborough United at London Road in 1986. So it's actually 40 years ago this year since we last won there. I was there when we were 4-0 up at half time.
Wow.
I got a lift off a Peterborough fan for that game, and he rung me at half time and said, "Can we go now?" He never let me forget what happened afterwards. After that, but yeah, Cardiff City at London Road is a complete bogey team, but records are there to be broken.
Yeah, fair enough. Steve, you got any memories to do with Peterborough at all?
I actually went up in the 70s and we got done that day as well. I think it was 2 or 3, but notoriously they're quite good at home, Steve. It's a tricky game, that is. They got some good young kids up there, and I watch them a few times now and again if we're not doing anything, and I like what they do at home. They're a very good home team, so we're up against it a bit on Monday. I just hope we get out the traps fairly early and get on top of them, because they're decent at home. So it's a tricky game for us to come back in.
So do you think? Are you with me that I hope that the break will have done us a world of good. Maybe some of the players went away for a while, those on international duty, and maybe recharge the batteries and go again. Not many games to go.
I hope so, because it'd be great to see Yusuf back in that team, because
wouldn't it be fantastic?
We just need a bit of an injection up front, don't we? We seem to have lost our way with that false 9. So even just having Yusuf on the bench or back in the side is a plus, and I think it looks like he's going to be in contention for the side. So and the same with Isaac as well, isn't it? They were both. There's 2 players who can do something different up front for us, and I think that's what we needed. We just gone a bit stale up there, haven't we?
And David, I don't know whether you're any good at Scrabble, but I think this word that Jeff Delacruz has come up with has got to be worth a lot of points, I reckon, because he's come up with quite a long word beginning with X. But he says that Castoria for Information has a major shareholder in Jim Ratcliffe, the famous xenophobe. So I'll leave people to Google that.
That does link into my Peterborough story, actually, because many years ago, I can't remember when it was, I went to Peterborough with my nephew, and we took a flag, and we had, Caerdydd in stick-on letters on the flag. I couldn't tell you who won the game, but I can remember running back and forth the flag as the letters kept blowing off, and we kept sticking them back on in a Scrabble style.
Different order.
As it hang on the fence. And it just goes to show that sometimes football is not about football. It's about those stupid stories, as Steve was saying, let's go home now when we're 4-0 up or 4-0 down, and letters flying off a flag, and it's absolutely bonkers. I think the international break has done us good, and what I also think, setting aside the Salah thing, I think it's taken a little bit of the heat off the team as well.
Yeah.
So and we don't have a game now for another week.
Week tonight.
Week tonight.
Gosh, we've missed Salah lately. Teams have found out that without Salah, we haven't got a cutting edge,
Although we did score goals at times without him.
We did away from home, where there's more space to play in. At the Cardiff City Stadium, they just play, 12 men behind the ball, and we can't break them down. Robinson plays in this, false 47 role, and it just doesn't work, So I'm looking forward to him coming back. Ruben, if he's on fire.
That'd be a breath of fresh air, wouldn't it? And Isaac, to have the pair of them back.
Also, my Easter Monday. That's my Easter Monday Monday treat, Easter treat.
Oh, well done. You're going to wear the ears on the way up here? Yeah. Right.
Probably,
listen.
yeah.
as well as the Peterborough game, you've only got a few minutes to go just to go through this. It's interesting. Peterborough mid-table, nothing really on it apart from the fact that Luke Williams is their manager, and I'm sure he'd love to put one over on us. They're not going down, they're not going up. Right? And then in the next 3 games, then Steve Thomas, we got Bolton, Huddersfield, and Reading, all of which, are chasing promotion in one shape or another. So this next run of games it could be, if it goes well, we could not pretty well sew it up, couldn't we?
Yes, we could. I think also a point to make is that with our game against Port Vale being off on Friday because they're still in the cup, we've got a massive game with Plymouth hosting Bolton on Friday. So I think I'd look for Plymouth to win that. However, we've also got Bradford, who are only a point behind Bolton, and they're at home to Northampton, who do seem to be a bit of a lost cause at the moment. So I don't think it's over yet, but I think in a week's time, we'll hopefully be in a better position to know where we are. Also worth bearing in mind, I think that 2 weeks ago, we were 11 points ahead of third with 9 games to go. Now we're 11 points ahead with 7 games to go. So if we just keep that gap, the other running out of games. I think if we can match or better the results of these other teams below us in three games would be enough now, because we're effectively 4 games ahead of the 2 teams below us. So we just need to make sure that we keep it going for the last few games. And if we stumble over the line, we stumbled over the line. But let's just finish in the top 2.
Do you want to quickly give me a prediction for the Peterborough game, Steve?
Right, I'm going to, despite what I said earlier on, I'm going for a 2-1 win.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay. First one in 40 years. Just to put that one out there. Steve Wiggins.
Pop it down as a score draw. I think it's 2-2.
Okay. It might not be a terrible result, to be honest. It might not be a terrible result. No. Because, like Steve said, the games are starting to run out. What you reckon, David?
I was going to say 4-0 down at halftime and win 5-4, Steve, but it'll be 2-0 to Cardiff City.
Okay, and just the Youssef and Isaac thing, of course, 2 really good players, particularly at this level. Youssef coming back now, David, as we go into the last 6 or 7 games. If we can win 2 or 3 games and we're more or less there, it could be a fantastic asset for us, couldn't it?
I think mathematically, from today, we need 11 points.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's a scenario where we can clinch promotion against Bolton. There might be, I don't know. But I think if we don't lose for the rest of the season, we'll go up.
7 draws.
Negative.
Just 7, yeah. Well, and Steve, on that point as well, we reiterating something we talked about the other week. So we don't win the league, right? So we might, but I don't think we're going to now. But getting in the automatic places, for me, that transcends everything else. This is getting those top 2 and get out of the league, isn't it?
Most definitely. I've said throughout the season, I don't care where we finish in the top 2 as long as we're in the top 2. Hats off to Lincoln if they win the league. We may not like their style, we may not like the way they do it. However, they'll have proved they've been the best team over 46 games. If we finish second, that's fine. That's fine with me. Anywhere in the top 2 is fine.
Okay, and I'm just going to throw this little teaser out now, Steve, radio style now. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but it could happen that I might. Don't guess. I may have somebody who's appeared for both us and another team who's done very well this season on the show before the end of the season. I also may have one of City's more popular goalkeepers. So I'm working on both. So we'll see who that is. And that goalkeeper could have had a walk-on part in the Top Cat cartoon, Anyway,
got me there.
Yeah, I'll leave those there. Thank you very much, everyone. See you soon. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
All the best, guys.
This channel is powered by an incredible membership community on Cardiff City World and patreon.com/Ace Podcast Nation. Becoming a member unlocks exclusive rewards from early access to live event tickets, bonus content, and even the occasional inside transfer scoop when we get it. But more importantly, it allows us to bring you top quality Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Across those 7 days, we're talking match previews, exclusive interviews, instant match reactions, the breakdown podcast, tactical deep dives, the spotlight series, Bluebirds Rewind, Academy Focus, and just so much more. Led by myself, backed by an army of passionate Cardiff City fans, this is content created by fans for fans. Balanced, professional, and 100% all about the club we all love. If you enjoy what we do, then join the community today and support what we are doing as we help to keep Cardiff City World flying high.